ISSF World Cup Series of 2019 begin with their first event in New Delhi at the Dr. Karni Singh Shooting Range in the southwest quadrant of India's national capital. It's a wonderful range without doubt, of course, refurbished just before 2010, the Commonwealth Games. We now have a finals range, and the rest of the 80-acre complex has been readied for this wonderful tournament. The city, of course, is bustling. It's the national capital. You can find everything you want and more in this very large city. I'm Charu Sharma. I'm delighted to have the company once again on this final day of the ISSF World Cup of Richard Drew. Richard, well, once it gets over today, I do hope you can get some time to go maybe to that spot, and certainly we're enjoying our presence here.
Yeah, they're looking after us very nicely, although I have to say it's not quite as sunny today as it was when we filmed these shots at the beginning of the competition, but you know, we'll take what we've got. And this is what we've got today. It is day 5, as we say, live from the Dr. Karni Singh Shooting Range. Very well appointed, and we are very well looked after as well. We are delighted to be here. And, the mixed team coming up, which will be fascinating, I think it's fair to say. 2 events, both in the men, the mixed team in the rifle and the air pistol. And, yeah, it's a fairly new event, and I think people are enjoying it.
Well, I certainly hope to enjoy what is now a team event in shooting. The sport is evolving, and I think for the better. Most of the federations are now very concerned about spectator interest, spectator enthusiasm. This wonderful final range here in the Dr. Karni Singh complex. The crowd really gets into it. And that's just a reminder of what happened yesterday. The 50-meter rifle 3 position for women. Nina Christian was magnificent. The Chinese Shi Mengyao climbed up to second eventually, getting past Yelizaveta Korol. So it was a very interesting contest without doubt. It is the marathon. And of course, as always, starts with the kneeling position where there was a bit of up and down.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we always talk about having to start strongly, and some of these athletes did struggle. The Chinese always slow starters, but you always know that they're going to come back pretty strongly. But Nina Christian is looking pretty good all the way through, and also Korol of Kazakhstan in that blonde mop you can see there. But the Chinese always likely to come strong later on, and they had 2 athletes in the mix, of course, Shi Mengyao and Cheng Dongqi. But that was the woman who stayed on top almost all the way through, Nina Christian, as they went to the prone, the lying down position, and then the 9 minutes to change everything, change your sights, change the way your clothing is tightened up a little bit into the standing position. It's all a bit more variable, but again, we saw at the top the same people, and at the bottom a battle to stay in, and Beer of Germany certainly wasn't happy.
Well, the first to go was Lukasinovic, far right, then Beer, who just couldn't recover from, I think, a poor series during the kneeling, or perhaps it was the prone. And of course, Ganku Yang of Mongolia, then Dvorak also, and Cheng, unfortunately, without a medal, finishing 4th.
Literally bowing out with great grace. But there was a medal for Korol of Kazakhstan. She took the bronze. China always in the mix with Shi, but it was Nina Christian of Switzerland who was a country mile ahead of everybody else. Looked very, very good. And she took the gold, and there were very loud celebrations amongst the Swiss contingent at that point.
And then we moved on to the 10-meter air pistol for women, where Veronica Mayer, having already picked up a gold earlier on, was just in superb form. Look at the gap between her and silver. Wu Chiaying of Chinese Taipei well behind. But it was still an absorbing contest, despite the fact that Mayer ran away with it.
Yeah, we talk about how strong they are, of course, in the Asian area shooting, but it was a good day for the Europeans, it has to be said. In the air pistol, it's a very different kettle of fish to the 3 position, in fact any of the indoor rifle competitions. None of that strengthening clothing, just your tracky bottoms, your t-shirt, and your calmness required. First out was Prakusorn of Thailand, then a real battle to avoid being 7th place. That went to Gorbani of Iran, and Victoria Cheka was a very surprising 6th, the Belarusian, very well decorated. And then it was the Egyptian Hudod who went out.
Yeah, well, she seemed very disappointed indeed, and then eventually Kim Min-jung was out of the medals, and we got to the medal spot where bronze was taken by Kim Bo-mi. And when it came down to the top two, of course, this lady here was easily the winner by a very large margin. Veronica Mayer and Wu Chia-ying had to settle for a fairly comfortable silver.
Well, it was a busy day yesterday. We certainly got our money's worth, and it was an exciting. It's always exciting, the 25-metre rapid-fire pistol for men, because it's noisy, and of course they take it in turns to shoot. But once again, a dominant performance, a 12th World Cup gold for Christian Reitz of Germany, the Olympic champion, of course, as well. We had to wait a little while whilst one of the targets, which was malfunctioning in the Delhi drizzle, had to be fixed, but once we got going, it was gripping stuff.
Well, the competitors seemed to take that delay quite calmly. Of course, the German coach was quite pleased, as he ought to be, with Reitz's performance. He was magnificent. So many perfect series, but the crowd very delighted with Anisha's performance, who survived a shootout with Bessa Gay, who was first to go, and then the young, 16-year-old Anish. He seems to be all right here, but he was very disappointed at finishing outside the medals. Of course, adding to the disappointment of the crowd here, which has supported this entire event very vociferously.
Well, India have 2 goals already in this World Cup, wanted a third. It wasn't to be. It was the man who has a coach who likes to punch the air in triumph, Christian Reitz, who took it ahead of Lin Junmin and Kim Jong-hong of China and Korea, respectively. A 12th World Cup gold medal for him.
Well, he was magnificent, wasn't he? So we get to our final day of the ISSF World Cup pistol rifle here in New Delhi, day 5, and we begin with the 10-metre air rifle mixed team, and then move on after a bit of a gap to the 10-metre air pistol mixed event, which is 1 female, 1 male from each country. And I'm really excited about this event, because I think it will take the sport of shooting in terms of the following globally, as well as, of course, locally in terms of spectators, to a different level, I think.
Certainly interesting, and part of the changes to make shooting gender neutral in terms of as we head towards Tokyo, of course. And this is how they have qualified, and you won't be surprised to see there are 2 Chinese teams and there are 2 Korean teams. And you may be not surprised to hear they're not all the athletes from Korea and China who got medals in the individual events are actually here. They have such strength in depth.
Well, without question, and just for those who might be watching in this part of the world, a bitter disappointment, I suppose, not just a bit, but bitter, as Anjum Modgil and Ravi Kumar were just outside qualification, just 0.2 after a marathon qualification. So the top 5 make it, then the team from Finland just 0.1 behind, and then another agonizing 0.1 behind the Indian duo of Anjum Modgil and Ravi Kumar. So, of course, a couple of other celebrated Indian shooters also could not make it to the final, which is disappointing from the crowd's perspective, but nevertheless, we'll have a few people here, I'm sure, and they will cheer their teams
30
on.
30 seconds.
And you'll be interested, you know, obviously a Asian dominance here, but the Romanian team have a chance. Laura Georgeta Coman, world ranked number 10, and of course then you have Alan George Moldovano, who is 14 in the world but is the Olympic champion in the individual 10-metre air rifle competition. So there really is a chance that once again Europe may just triumph here, but the odds, you would say, are against them. You might say they're 20%.
Stop.
Yes, for certain it's Far East of Asia that's likely to triumph here, but we do have some very celebrated athletes, particularly from Romania. And I think we're just about ready to have a formal introduction of our 10 finalists from 5 teams. Over to Jamie Stangram.
Ladies and gentlemen, the organising committee of the ISSF World Cup New Delhi 2019 and the International Shooting Sport Federation welcome you to the Dr. Karni Singh shooting range, the final competition for the 10-metre air rifle mixed team event will now begin. So let's meet our teams. On firing points A1 and A2, representing the Republic of Korea, Team 2, give it up for Jung Eun-hae and Chong Ji-gun. On to firing points B1 and B2. Representing the People's Republic of China, Team 1, we have Zhu Yingjia and Zhao Chonghao. Over on firing points C1 and C2, representing the Republic of Korea, Team 1 is Kum Ji-hyun and Chu Byung-jil. Moving on now to firing points D1 and D2. Representing the People's Republic of China, Team 2 is Jiao Rou-shu and Liu Yu-kun. And our final team competing here today on firing points E1 and E2. Representing Romania, we have Laura Georgeta Coleman and Alin George Moldoviano. So they are the 5 teams ready to do battle for the medals, but our jury member in charge of this final is Mr. David Goodfellow of Great Britain. And our chief range officer for this final is Mr. Saeed Tosif of India. Let the final begin.
Well, stopwatch at the ready. We're about to get underway. Just a reminder, 5 teams, 10 athletes in the final. We start with 3 series of 5 shots, so each team times that by 2, have 10 shots, 300 seconds to get those away. The athlete on the left shoots first. That's the rules. A man or a woman, doesn't matter, but the athlete on the left shoots first, and then they shoot. The other athlete will take up the shooting after that, all within the 300 seconds. Then we go to single shots, 2 per team, 60 seconds, same rules. You don't shoot at the same time, you wait, obviously because you're shooting at the same target, but then we have 2 series of single shots, and then we drop the first team, and 24 shots from each athlete, 48 shots in total, we get to the gold. I hope that made some sense to you.
Well, it's pretty much like the regular 10-meter air rifle, except there are 2 shooting and there's a little more time. But in terms of conventional wisdom, of course, it requires a certain amount of strategizing for each team about who takes which place. As you can see, they are not all standard ladies first and men second. Some of the teams, in fact, equally split here, have the men shooting first and the ladies second. But conventional wisdom apparently indicates that the shooter that shoots a little quicker should be on the first stand on the left, because it's okay if you get your shot in and leave a little more time for the relatively slower shooter to ensure that you get your shots off in time. So that's just a little bit of strategy involved here. But I say once again that it's wonderful for the sport of shooting to evolve in a direction which gives a little more for spectators and for countries to go behind their teams, because shooting can be considered a very individual sport, even though you play under the national colors. But just getting a team event going, I think, gives that much more for a country to cheer about and follow closely.
Well, what a great start from the Romanians. It is the...
Moldoviano, of course, is the big daddy here of 10-meter rifle.
It is, but it's Coleman who is shooting first for the Romanians and really setting down the gauntlet to the Asian teams. Korea 1 looking really, really good. Some good groupings for them, but it is Korea 2 topping the rankings at the moment, but they've just shot an 8.9. That's the Romanians on the right-hand side, and then China 2, Zhao and Liu. And as you say, it's all to do with teamwork, making sure the faster shooter perhaps starts and then gives the slower shooter a little bit of time. And Coleman and Moldoviano both shooting very, very well.
Moldoviano, of course, the gold medal winner at London, the Olympics, so you always carry that tag with you, Olympic champion. And of course he's done a fair amount of winning elsewhere as well in the World Cup, a gold at Munich 2008, long time back, a couple of silvers, in fact 4 of them, first in Munich in 2005 and the last in Rio de Janeiro. So maybe not in his best form, he did well enough at the World Championship a couple of years ago, but he is a celebrated shooter. And Koman also coming into her own, because she got that silver in the World Cup final in New Delhi here 2 years ago. And the gold in Munich, her first gold in World Cups in 2017, where she came in as ranked, what, 100 and something to win gold.
And there she is, but she's just waiting. She's shot her shots, and she is waiting for her compatriot, and they've finished as well. So the first series more or less done, certainly done for her. Ordiano is still shooting. This is Zhu and Zhao.
So Zhao, of course, shooting first here, is only, what, 23, and hasn't really done too much of note yet, but he'll be delighted to have the company of the much younger 19-year-old Zhu Yingji.
And they qualified top, so that will help them as well.
And Zhu, the lady here in the team, got, what, a 4th place in the 10-meter individual event earlier on.
There's a nice shot of the monitors. As soon as you shoot, little glance down, you can see how you've done, whether you need to adjust your sight. You shouldn't need to at this point. And it's China 2 and Romania who are at the moment trading places at the top. Korea well placed as well. Obviously the combined totals not very helpful, because they haven't all finished and they're not on the same shot either. But looking at the actual targets, China 2 very, very nicely grouped around the 10-4 their last one. So China 2, who are in the right hand side as the spectators look, are doing well. And Moldoviano, well, look at that, he really is showing the way. Struggling to keep up with China 2, but they're there or thereabouts. Remember, 3 series of 5 shots each athlete, 10 shots per team. Plenty of time to keep it consistent and contend for a medal when it comes to the single shots.
Well, China too have a fabulous grouping, very, very tight around bullseye, and Moldoviano doing reasonably well with the 10.7 earlier on, but I suspect China 2 and then China 1 could be in the lead after the Zhu and Zhao are just 100. So a fair gap opening up after that first series of 5 shots.
Well, I think China 1 were grouping well, but not in the right place. That's the problem. And, you know, it's easily fixable if you can get your head in the right place. So the second series of 5 shots per athlete, around 5 minutes for them to get these shots off. So, you know, there's plenty of time for each athlete to get the shots away, has to be said. And as we remind you, you can see there the Romanian team, it looks like it's the male athlete who's going to shoot first, but it's not. He's just getting himself ready and letting Coleman take the shots first, and a 10.7 from her will really set the bar. But China 2, a 10.7 as well. China 1 again, a 9.9. They're struggling. And Korea 2, Jung and Jeong, they get a 10.8. So a good start from those athletes, and they really are looking to keep the pressure on.
Korea 2 begin with a 10.8. That's in position A. And of course, the Romanians and China 2 continue to do really well. Korea 1 now creeping up with the last shot of 10.7. So, well, it's a 10-meter air rifle. It is the most, if I can say so, the most precise of events in terms of scores and in terms of possibilities. And these guys are the best in the world. I mean, that's why they're here. That's why they've qualified for the final. And we fully expect some wonderful scores here from the best in the world.
It's a lovely shot there of Zhao in the red. Just how much he bends his back. It's not a natural position. This is why they're in the gym so much, to strengthen the body, to get the body conditioned properly. But obviously the suits help as well to keep you stable, stop you swaying a little bit. Obviously the shoes, we've mentioned this during the week, very stable, flat soles. That helps as well. All tested to make sure you're not getting an unfair advantage, they're not too stiff. But yeah, that certainly helps these athletes get those great shots. Remember, 10.9 is just 0.5 millimeter in the center of that target that is 10 meters away.
So that's Romania. Last shot 9.7. That will not thrill them, but Moldoviano, as we say, most celebrated shooter here.
Yes, and back on with a 10.7 straight afterwards, and that will help. I mean, you unless you are having an exceptional day at the office, you can expect at least one in the 9 ring. So the key is whether you come back from that. And well, this man, as we said, in the individual event, gold medalist in London, just out of the medals, 4th in Beijing, so he's immensely experienced. We've got a few youngsters in here as well, of course, but he is experienced.
Well, he's they're slipping up just a bit now. Romania 1 as China 2 continue to be pretty tight, and I think it's China 1 who seem once again to have a really good grouping around Bull. So we'll see whether there's a turnaround after this series of 5.
Well, Kyum and Chu, Korea 1, they are in 3rd at the moment, but this is the man who is trying to keep up with China 2. As the clock ticks down, just what, 1 minute 40 seconds still to go. They normally get them in with a lot, actually, to spare. 10.8 from Zhao and Liu. They're looking good, aren't they?
Well, Zhao took individual silver, and we know that she's very, very good. Only 20 so far. In fact, it's a very young team, China 2. They've got Zhao, who's 20, and Liu Yukun, who's only 21. A big junior champion shooter, and he did pretty well here too, in the 10 meter.
4 years he's been competing, and you say silver in the Junior World Championships a couple of years ago, and a gold in the Junior Asian Championships, so they know how to handle the pressure. In fact, it is his partner Zhao who's a little more experienced in terms of what she's managed, even though she's younger. Gold in the World Cup in Changwon last autumn.
Stop.
That will help as well. And yeah, they're looking pretty good at the moment. They are top of the pile, Zhao and Liu, 208.5. Coleman and Moldaviano are struggling to keep up with them. And Kim and Chu not far behind.
Well, it looks like a right royal battle for 2nd and 3rd for the moment. And this is only after the 2nd series, so we have a 3rd series before we start moving into danger zones. And both China won, and Korea in a little bit of trouble at the bottom, but still enough time in the 3rd series to try and catch up. They're all relatively speaking pretty close.
For the next competition
China 2
series,
well ahead at 208.5, so what, 1.6 ahead, which is in air rifle shooting quite a bit.
Yeah, and it's interesting, Korea 1 and Korea 2, they were the bottom 2 teams, so to speak, in qualification, 4th and 5th. Not always a great indicator of how you're going to go when everything is scrubbed and you start again.
Well, for the moment they're 3rd and 5th, so they are living up to qualification billing, as it were. It's only China 1 has slipped a bit, but I'm sure they'll pull themselves back. So the next series begins with China 1, 10.3, and China 2, 10.4. Romania will take that 10.5.
Yeah, Zhao and Liu, the leaders at the moment. And this, of course, is Koeman, the 25-year-old who starts off each series for Romania, ranked 10th in the world, a silver at the World Cup final here in New Delhi a couple of years ago, so she likes this range, and a gold in the World Cup in Guadalajara last year, so she's in decent form.
Well, 2017 was the big turnaround year for Koeman, who comes from, she's a big city girl, Bucharest. And when she won in Munich, apparently she was such an outsider to well over 100 in terms of ranking. It was quite a bit of a shocker for her to take gold there, and of course took silver later in New Delhi, as you said. So that was a big turnaround for her before she won again in Guadalajara. Someone to watch out for. But imagine having the company of somebody who's 10 years older and has been there and done that for years and years, Moldaviano.
That's what they're aiming for. It's not a big target, it has to be said. Half a millimetre, the 10.9, and then each of those decimal places, the 10.8, 10.7, 10.6, etc., quarter of a millimetre. And that's what they can see. They can see a little bit more information than we can see, and that helps them just to... It is just fractions and fractions of a millimetre that they need to change.
Well, good to have a zoomed target next to you, but the one that's 10 meters away really looks like a little black dot, no more.
There you can see where they are aiming. It looks like a paper target, but it's actually an electronic target. But a 10.9 from Kien and Chu, that will help them up into second place at the moment, with Romania dropping down into third. It's still pretty tight though.
Yeah, it's only, I think, Korea too who are beginning to lose a bit of steam. That's in position A. And Jung, who's actually done a fair amount, is really the senior member of the two in terms of being more celebrated. She's 29, they're both 29. But Jung, bronze at the World Championship in Changwon, home conditions then. And silver at the Asian Games in Jakarta. She's done well. Her partner hasn't achieved that much yet, just that 6th place at Munich in 2016 in the World Cup. But they are in danger of not making it much further. Well behind at this point of time.
I think he's got less than 2 minutes to get his shots off as well. You might have seen him just flexing the shoulders, trying to get himself ready. But that is a bit of a rush in terms of air rifle shooting. We've got, what, 1 minute and 40 left on the clock. You can see the red numbers in the background just counting down. They can see that. There's one on each side, so no matter whether you're a lefty or a righty, you will see how much time you have left.
Certainly not the best series for the Romanians, this one. 10.5 last, but before that they've been going a little left of target, and altogether not a happy grouping. The last one, 10.9 for Romania. Well, that will help.
Certainly will. You don't want to be flagging just before you get to the single shots, because obviously there's less wiggle room, less chance for you to rectify any slight errors that you feel you have made. Well, here's the former Olympic champion, 10.8 to follow the 10.9. A little exhalation and then reset again.
And look at Koman next to him, to the right of the screen, just watching her partner, breathing easy, taking it easy for what's to come. But I'm sure she is admiring what Moldoveanu is capable of. What a leader to have in the team.
Time has opinions with those.
Enough talent to claw their way back into third position, where it's very, very close. Just 0.1 the difference between Romania 1 with Moldoveanu and Koman, and Korea.
So on to the single shots. 2 per team, of course, within 60 seconds. So it's actually a little bit less than the 50 seconds you would get as an individual athlete. But what you can do, of course, as you can see there, with Jung and Jong, as one athlete gets ready for the clock is running down to shoot, then you can start your preparation. As long as you're happy to hold that pose for a little bit longer than the other athlete, that's okay.
Well, there is a little bit of holding fatigue, so you don't want to hold that rifle for too long.
10.2 for Romania.
Romania
not as good
trouble in that round.
Zhu and Zhao with a 10.4, but the best of the round from China and Korea 2. Both of them, Korea 2, China 2 with 10.6. And now we're getting the second shots. Far away, 10.5 from Romania, 10.6 from Korea 2 again, but they're still bottom of the pile at the moment.
Stop.
And they will stay bottom of the pile. There's 2 more shots to try and get them out of the hole that they are in at the moment. They are a point behind China 1, who are in 4th place. And that is who we are going to have to keep an eye on at the top. By the way, China 2 are more than a couple of points ahead of Romania.
For the next
all eyes on China 1 and Korea 2.
Load.
And they are the first 2 in terms of position, A and B. Just 1 point separating the 2, so it could go any way. A high 10 and a low 10 for both the shooters could make a really big difference of certainly over a point. So it's not lost yet for the Koreans. And of course, Zhu Yingji, 4th in the 10 meters, leading the charge for China 1, along with Zhang Zhao, who's 23. Zhang Hao.
Well, it's a 10.2 for China 1 on that left-hand side, on that right-hand side rather. It's the Koreans who are in the black outfits, and they've shot a 10.1 and a 10.8 second time around for China 1. That's excellent shooting, and that will cement their place still in this competition.
Stop.
Excellent from Zhao Zhonghao.
Yeah, I don't mean to pick up for the ladies, but Zhu Yingji for China did really well. She did finish 4th in the individual 10-meter rifle, and she once again ensured that China stay ahead. That's China 1, stay ahead of Korea, and the young Koreans will have to, well, pleasant smile from them, will have to leave the arena in 5th spot.
Yep. First shooting position, but last in the positions, unfortunately. There's confirmation. Jung and Jong, Korea 2 are in 5th place, and 1.4 is quite a margin, not really much of a chance in that last series.
Well, again with a margin of 1 point, and that just increased because of a better shot by Zhu Yingji. But let's turn our attention to the next two at the bottom, and the difference is only 0.8. So once again, there could be a fair swing depending on whether China won. We've just seen Zhu come in with a 10.8. Whether they can shoot better than Korea 1, for whom Kyum and Chu have done reasonably well so far, quietly in the 3rd spot.
Romania still hanging in there, looking for that gold medal. They're a long way behind China too, but a 10.7, that last one would have made them feel that they can do something here. 10.8 from China too, that's excellent. 9.9 from Romania. Oh, that will hurt them and perhaps possibly drop them down a bit. 10.5 for Korea, the second shot. 10.7 for China 1.
Moldoviano still to shoot, and they'll be looking for a 10.7 for him, so that will certainly help. Coman, the one who wilted a bit with that 9 point something.
Well, it's very tight now between 3rd and 4th. Just 0.3 between these two athletes. Zhu and Zhao, China 1, and Korea 1, Kiem and Chu. So can the Koreans stay in this competition and take a medal?
Well, you may remember that China 1 was, what, 0.8 behind. Now they're only 0.3 behind. So they had a much better series the last time around, the single shots. And if Zhu, particularly, Yingji, continues her very precise ways, we could see China 1 creep into 3rd. So it's all down to this series now between the Koreans and the Chinese. China 2, of course, extending their lead. They're a clear 3.4 ahead of the Romanians, so they're in good shape.
And they're shooting in reverse. The Koreans with the women shooting first, the Chinese with the men shooting first. China 1 with a 10.3, Korea 1 with a 10.6, so China 1 at the bottom at the moment. A 10.1 the second shot, and Korea with a 10.6. So it is excellent work from Korea. They are, what, half a point ahead of the Chinese.
Well, they're only 0.3 ahead or so. Now they are 0.5 ahead. So Korea 1 continue to draw away from China 1. And that will be the end of that for China 1.
Well, given the talent in the Chinese ranks, they'll be disappointed. Qualified second, but finish in the final in 4th place.
Well, all 4 Chinese made it to the final are still pretty young, so I'm sure they have a long career ahead of them. However, Zhu and Zhao will sadly be out of medal contention here. Very close, Korea 2, Korea 1 that is, did just enough to stay ahead.
Yeah, Zhao Zhonghan will be particularly disappointed, along with, well, it was Zhu Yingji who came 4th in the individual event, so 2 4th places for them. Yeah, it's a bit disappointing. So far we're eliminating along shooting positions. A went first,
B next.
A and B, and yeah, and B, and now we've got 6 athletes, 3 teams, 2 more single shots before we decide who takes bronze.
Well, since you're keeping with positions, I think it may be C who will go next, because they are well behind. Well, not well, but a whole point behind the Romanians. And Romania still to get off their first shot. It'll be
taking their time, aren't they? This leaves 22 seconds. Yeah, 9.7, under pressure, weren't they? And it's not a lot of time.
Oh, come on. Bows her head down in disappointment, because this is the second time she's shot into the 9s, leaving too much for Moldoviano to do.
Another 9.7 for the Romanians. That was a really poor series for them. And Korea 1, just 0.1 behind now. This man has to pull it out of the fire for the Romanians.
I'm sure he trusts his abilities. It's Koman who's wilting just a bit, and she, the young Romanian, needs to just put in a nice, decent 10-point something to begin with.
Sometimes if you wait too long, it affects the quality of your shot, and then of course there's a knock-on effect for your partner who has less time to do his routine, and he will know that he didn't have much time.
Well,
So
it is a team event, and yet, of course, we don't have any real chat between the teams. They all know what to do, so... And you've got to just keep cool, so there's no sense turning around and whispering words of wisdom or whatever else. This is going to determine bronze and silver. Romania just 0.1 ahead. That's nothing at all. And the last couple of series haven't gone too well for them. Need to get their confidence back this time around.
10.5, much better from the Romanians, from Koman, and very quick as well this time. 10.7 from China too. And Korea went with a 10.3, so Korea need a turnaround on these second shots from these athletes.
It's all down to this one. China, too, of course, too far ahead now. They have a nice little cushion. Moldoviano, a 10.7. That will do it for the Romanians. And of course, unless there's something spectacular. No, even a 10.9 is not going to get Korea one into a silver position.
No, 10.3 is how it finished for the Koreans. Not enough, and in the end they're 0.7 behind, and Kim Ji-young and Chu Yong-gi are the two who have to sit down by their coach and settle for bronze. I'm sure bronze will be very welcome.
Well, a fair amount of drama so far for the positions, but I suspect no longer, because the lead of China now 6 points ahead of the Romanians, and that's just too far for anyone to recover from. However, Romania, well done. Pretty steady after a little bit of a wobble in a couple of series before the last one.
For the next competition,
Well, we have been going along.
Load.
People have been leaving in order of shooting positions, but I very much doubt it's going to happen this time.
Well, it ends there, that run.
The Chinese two on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side, Koman and Moldoviano.
Well, this is a situation, Richard, where you shoot without any pressure at all. The Chinese, no pressure, because they've done, well, they're so far ahead, and so too for the Romanians, because regardless of two 10.9s, they're not likely to be able to catch up with the Chinese. So no pressure this final series.
How about that? A 10.8, no pressure whatsoever. 10.5, they're even further behind now. It's over 6 points.
Yeah, if Zhao Ruozhu has done well, as a silver medalist behind Apurvi Chandela in the individual 10 meter, then Liu Yukun has done even better, beginning with a 10.8.
9.6.
Stop.
For Moldoviano, and a 10.1, another solid shot in the end from China too.
Well, it doesn't really matter too much though, because the Chinese too far ahead. Yet, if he can get a couple of 10.9s, like I said, shooting for pride too, perhaps, because Moldoviano particularly is a very celebrated shooter. You want to end on a high, a nice center of center. Will just make the crowd, delight the crowd a little more. Pity about no Indian teaming in there, because we've had a little lower spectatorship than we might have had otherwise, but they missed out very narrowly in case you've just joined us from this part of the world.
Yeah, middle of the week though, of course, difficult for some people to get here, but we have got a good smattering of spectators here, and certainly very interested, getting the clapping going, trying to G up these athletes. 10.8 from China too, and not bad. 10.4 from Koman. She's certainly shot okay, but that's much better than that 10.8. They'll look at that monitor and think, yeah.
I can't see Zhao relenting. I think there'll be a pretty good 10 something as well from young Chinese. And oh yeah, Moldoviano 10.8. That's what we expect from the champion. And of course a 10.5 from Zhao as well. They're just too good. They've been too good on the day. China too.
Keep an eye, by the way, on the total, cumulative total. The record is 502 dead.
For the next competition,
keep an eye on that. You never know, we might have a world record to go with a very convincing win.
Well, it's eminently possible here.
Start.
It's at 5:02.
It is.
Well, I mean, that's less than tens
That's from
For the two of
Xu and Chen of China back in March last year at Guadalajara.
Well, not that these two here on the left may be well aware of that, but Liu and Zhao sitting on the cusp of what could possibly be a world record. I know it's a new event and the record will continue to improve. 10.6. Wow. What a start by Liu.
Yes, and whether Zhao realises they are close to the best score in this competition, I don't know. She'll be just concentrating on a decent finish to this competition.
Fully expect a 10 plus from 10.7.
10.7.
We'll give them the record, won't it?
It is by quite some distance. 1.6 is a lot.
Results are final.
Well, that is excellent shooting from China too. And Zhao and Liu take the gold, and they take the world record as well.
Wow, terrific. They jumped out into the lead earlier on and never relented.
And 7.4 ahead of the rest. That is a real country mile.
Massive victory. I'll take you back to the 10 meters for women, where Apurvi Chandela was way clear of Zhao Ruozhu in 5 points or so. Massive victory, but here too in this team competition, not much in terms of celebration, but China have done exceedingly well. Of course, the Romanians, we'll have to say, Moldovianu and Coman, just a bit of a wobble thereafter, ensuring that they were safely through to silver with 4.96, so well below world record for them. But a new world record, ladies and gentlemen, here at the ISSF World Cup at the Dr. Karni Singh Ranges in New Delhi.
Such strength in depth for the Chinese team. They could dispense with some of the medalists from the individual events and just concentrate on who they wanted to put in the team and still get gold and a world record. Korea won with the bronze, Romania with the silver, and the Chinese 2 team certainly not second best here. They're top of the pile with a world record.
And they're both so young, only 20 and 21, so we predict lots of success for them as they go along the world of shooting. This is a terrific field, and all of us have hugely enjoyed the presence of these world best shooters. I'm sure all of Delhi, the media here in New Delhi and in India has enjoyed the presence of these top-class shooters. I know there's been general disappointment in the Indian media about the lack of more medals for Indians, but they got 2 golds and one of them was world record. What more do you want? Fantastic performance, I think.
I think, you know, you start off like that with a couple of goals early on and you hope for more. Get a bit greedy perhaps, I don't know. But that's how it's finished here. No Indian athlete in the final or on the podium, but China too. Just such convincing winners. It was a pleasure to watch them.
Of course, good for the country split as well. We didn't have 2 Chinese or 2 Koreans getting the medals. It was all very fair. A team from China, one from Korea, and of course the celebrated Romanians as well, finishing the podium. So here's confirmation of the world record score by Zhao and Liu, 20 and 21 years old only. And Coman and Moldovianu, the big star here, finish second in silver, and Kyumin Chu from Korea take third, the bronze. So let's just quickly remind you about the start of this team event, relatively new in the world of ISSF shooting, but I think I've said several times, Richard, that I'm pretty happy that this initiative has moved on. Well, the sports evolve, and so is shooting, and I think there's a big realization of ensuring that there's more spectator interest, more global television viewer interest, and which is what team events tend to do. They tend to bring groups of people together because then they're rooting for a set of people rather than just an individual.
Yeah, so they brought in new events like this. They've tweaked some of the rules and some of the ways the finals run on other events to make them better, both in rifle and pistol and in shotgun as well. And I think we're in a much better place as a result. And looking forward to that road to Tokyo, which will be a long one this year. We've got a lot of events in the World Cup going throughout the year, but because you've got that little carrot of the Olympics next year and quota places, of course, it will be an exciting year for all the athletes and hopefully for all of us as well.
And of course, it's not just the World Cup events, but also the continental events. They have a few quota places as well, so plenty of opportunity as quota places keep getting filled up. It gets lower down in the order. You don't have to finish at the podium even at times to get that quota position. So here's confirmation at the end of that. Once again, a world record here. Well, we're through with the 10-meter air rifle mixed team event, and there's only one more event left from the Dr. Karni Singh Ranges in New Delhi, the 10-meter air pistol, and we hope